And we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. And we are goonless today. The dear Goon being supplanted by Chris Buchanati. And we appreciate Chris, as always, for filling in and for all of the work he does behind the scenes so much of the rest of the time.
We're like the opposite of the New Jersey Nets today.
Yes, indeed.
Ironhead, because we're lowering the overall body mass.
How about it? Yeah, the blockbusters, right? That's what every trade in the NBA is a blockbuster. But the the maneuverings continue. Couple of things just right out of the gate. Got the word yesterday afternoon, and then I think it was released to the public less than an hour later that the Penn State wrestling was not going to be competing this weekend at Rutgers due to the positive COVID test. Don't know how many, don't know which personnel, and I think purposefully vague is the announcement. So we don't know for sure if it's wrestlers, coaches, other folks involved with the program, or how many. But it really is kind of the worst case situation, because all along, and Cal's talked about it, we've talked about it, the importance of getting to 4 matches for the kids that you are expecting to be your starters in the postseason, because the NCAA has put out the decree that you have to have 4 matches under your belt. And then if COVID is the reason you can't compete in the Big Ten championships, you could still be considered for a wild card. So
now, are they
the rush?
Since we're kind of the Ohio State of wrestling, can we expect like some rule changes if that puts us in a pinch?
I don't think in this case, because it's NCAA, not Big Ten guidelines, and I think that that's, although who knows, I think that's going to remain fairly firm. But the goal obviously was for Penn State and for many of these programs was, hey, let's get as many of these matches in these first couple of weekends as we can to give ourselves a little wiggle room if things do develop. When they develop out of the gate, again, if everything goes well now, sure, you're going to be fine. But when you're having problems out of the gate, you worry about whether or not this is going to be able to go well, period, and whether you're going to be able to get the number of guys that you need to get to 4 matches to do so. So not good news. Not time to panic yet. We'll see, what happens here. If it's, for example, if it was, and I truly don't know, I've purposely am ignorant. I haven't asked anybody, and that's been intentional on my part, because I didn't want to know, because I don't think that information should be getting out. So I do not want to know, so that I'm not in a position to lie, or even not reveal all that I know. But if it was, let's just say it was the trainer, or it was a manager, or something along those lines, right? Yeah. And that person is in isolation and getting the treatment and then you get 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is, of negative results because all of the Penn State kids and coaches, and I'm guessing that's also the case with the training staff, although I guess I don't know that for sure. But I know the coaches and athletes are all getting tested 6 days a week right now, so that, if you're testing whatever it is over the next 5 days from yesterday and you're getting no other negative results, right, you can probably start back up and compete that following Saturday. If it's 5 members of the team that wrestlers that are have tested positive, and they're at different weight classes that have been training at different times, right, this becomes a little more problematic in terms of getting to the point where you feel comfortable and safe with the advancement. And if it's starters, right, that they have to be out 17 days under the protocol. So even if the program is able to move forward, again, that's at least 2 weekends.
I was going to ask about that.
So that you're going to end up missing.
at least initially, it was 21 days for football. So it's 17.
17 is what I've been told.
And is that from the date? That's from the date of your first positive test?
Correct. And that's, again, if everything goes well from that point on.
Right.
Obviously.
Now, so do you just you may not know this, but okay, so let's just say it was a wrestler for a moment. So from the first test that came back positive, does a 17-day clock start from there or from the first negative test after the positive?
That I don't know for sure.
I hope they're sending them somewhere other than the football team. They had what do we lead the country in false positives?
Yeah. Well, and that's the other, there's so many moving parts to all of this as there has been since everything went to hell in a handbasket last March. But yeah, that is the other thing. If it is one person and then today they do the test again, it's negative, and then tomorrow, and that is, at least a possibility that, hey, we're just dealing with false positives here, and everybody is in fact negative. It's really tough because from everything I'm hearing, everybody has been pretty diligent there in the program. As you would expect, and I suspect is also the case all across the country. And again, as we've talked about many times, you can do everything right, take all of the necessary precautions, and still, because it's a virus and it's easily spread, you can still end up, in a situation where you're dealing with what the wrestling program is. But to have all of the excitement about the opener and the import of getting, again, just matches under these guys' belt to put in the bank for later in the season if needed. Obviously, it was just very, very disappointing news. And it was one of those things where you just feel now like it's really going to be an uphill climb. It felt like it was a bit of an uphill climb to begin with in a sport like wrestling. But boy, this really puts you up against it, because if and we don't know, again, at the moment, how long this situation, we don't know whether the next weekend's match with Michigan State, that's, if they're able to go there, then yeah, this is a bit of a bummer, but not a big deal in the overall scheme of things.
Sure.
If they miss next weekend and then you start having, situations where other people within the program are getting it on a ripple effect, then that's where it has the potential to be, in a competitive sense, disastrous, not obviously in the overall scheme of mankind type of disastrous. But we'll see what happens here over the next few days. I suspect by Monday we'll have a clearer picture, a better idea of kind of where things stand moving forward for the wrestling program, and what all will be able to occur and how quickly it may be able to occur.
I guess I'm just thinking through all the implications of this now that I hear you talk about it. Depending on how this goes, let's just project forward here and assume they can get through some kind of a season.
Yeah.
This has potential to really wreak havoc on the seedings once you get to the nationals, right?
Big time. Yeah. And I don't know,
and that can make a huge difference. Talking about your path to the championship bout.
And that's another one of those things where the usually you feel pretty, as a wrestling fan, I think you usually feel pretty confident and pretty comfortable by the end of the season with the rankings. Again, like anything, that you're taking the top 33 at each weight, and like anything, you're going to have debate. I think the 34 or 35 guy, or a couple of the guys that were left out, should have been in over 32, 33. But
right,
generally speaking, they get it pretty right. I think most people, you can go back and justify, okay, look at the quality of the win here, loss there, and forgetting even the Penn State situation for this coming weekend at the very least. Just with the 9 matches and not having bouts against competition from elsewhere in the country, it's really difficult to feel like you're accurately and fairly judging where people are. And it's, much like football, you're going to have people, if there's a kid that has 4 bouts under his belt and is 4-0 against subpar competition, but had a good reputation coming in or had been to nationals before or what have you, and you have somebody else that, wrestled 10 tough matches and they're 7-3, but the 3 losses are the top 5 guys. How do you, there's a lot of difficult defendingness of how those seeds are going to pan out. And again, there's no, we're dealing with what we're dealing with. So there is no perfect solution here, but I just think it's really challenging for the folks that are having to put that stuff together when we do get to the postseason. And I've had a couple of people ask me, I still don't know, to my knowledge, there's been no official word on how many slots there will be at each weight class this year. Again, normally there's 33, and it's been that way for a while now. But I don't know with the circumstances whether that could be. I don't think it would be increased because, again, no Ivy League schools are competing this year. But whether or not it's going to be reduced and by how much, like whether we go down to 24-man fields or even 16, just because of the there's a couple of things that are coming into play here. Obviously, the health of the student athletes and everybody involved in the sport, the coaches and the scoring personnel and anybody else that has to be on site for the competitions, but also that there's a very real financial component, and I know it is a real concern for sports like wrestling, for men's gymnastics, for men's volleyball moving forward as to whether or not you're in existence. I mean, and you say, well, no, obviously at Penn State it's going to be, but if you end up with the 14 Big Ten schools, or maybe not even all of them, and a handful of other programs around the country that can still, I mean, are you going to keep doing Division I wrestling for 20, 25 programs? And I'm not trying to hit the panic alarm here just yet, but I'm just telling you, it is a concern. And so, with the health issue and obviously the more people you have, there's, the additional potential for the spread of the virus, but also the financial component. How many accommodations is the NCAA and the schools that sponsor wrestling going to be willing to accommodate? How much can they accommodate? And so, those factors combined make me believe, and again, I've not been told anything official or otherwise, but I've got to believe they're going to reduce it from the 33. Again, whether it gets down to 24 or 16 or something in between or whatever, I don't know. But I'll be surprised, pleasantly so, but very surprised if we see 33 competitors at each weight class here at the NCAA tournament in March, assuming there is an NCAA tournament in March. So, again, we'll continue to monitor that situation and see how everything unfolds. Did watch some of the Penguins Flyers game last night. It was funny. We even talked about it on Tuesday, and I knew when I woke up Wednesday morning, it was a 5:30 start, and then I just completely forgot. I knew they were playing, but I completely forgot about the 5:30 start, and we were doing some other things, and I had to take care of some other business. So it gets to be about almost 7 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, I want to go watch the game. So I turn it on. I'm like, oh, that's right. And so when I turn it on, the Penguins score and tie the game. I'm like, whoa, sweet. Nice. This is going to be fun. Then the Flyers go back ahead, and then the Flyers go ahead by 2. Then they go ahead. I mean, just like that. It went from 3-2, 3-3, and then the Flyers, of course, scored the final 3 goals, and the 2 in a matter of seconds apart from one another. And season opener, hats off to Philadelphia. Hard to imagine a much better start for the Flyers. And Penguins seem to play, from what I then read about the game, reasonably well for about 2.5 periods. But not exactly a stellar finish there by the beloved Penguins.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ironhead, the good news, if you're a Penguins fan, is that Pittsburgh is going to get plenty more cracks at Philadelphia because of the way the divisions are set up this year. I don't know about you. I am really excited to see this division. It's just stacked. It's going to be all these teams hate each other. Most of them are pretty good.
Yeah.
They're going to play a lot of games. I looked at the way the schedule is going to play out. I thought, man, I don't know that I don't like this better than the normal setup, frankly.
No, I'm with you. I
kind
do
of
think
harkens all the way back to the old school days of Major League Baseball, right? Where there was no interleague play, and you saw the same teams over and over and over again, and real rivalries could build up. I've been told by my relatives who are older than I am about the heyday of the Pirates and the Phillies rivalry.
Yeah.
And I don't really, I was a little kid when that really started dying down, so I don't remember that so well.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a great year for Eastern Conference rivalries in our division, man.
It is, and I do think that's fun, and I think it'll get more passionate as the season goes on, right?
It's good for the sport too,
which I
those
think
are
is
all
going to be
great
fun.
Hockey markets, great sports
fun for
markets.
The fans as well. The one thing with the Penguins, just and again, I only ended up seeing less than a period, but I think the Penguins have the same old problem, which is on the defensive end. They're not clearing the puck. I mean, I stating the obvious here, but you cannot give a team that has any team, but a team that has the talent that Philadelphia does as many cracks. And really, the first kind of couple minutes from when I was watching, right after the Penguins scored, and I turned it on. I didn't see the goal. I saw the replay of the Penguins goal just to give you an idea of when I tuned in, and then Philadelphia comes right back and again gets 3 pretty quick goals. But I think it was when Philly was up 4-3, the Penguins looked like they had a golden opportunity to tie the game. Just a sharp pass and just missed. And then, but off of that play, Philadelphia comes down the other way and gets whatever it was, 3-4 cracks at it. And nobody, and they even said it on the telecast, you're looking at the Penguins and they're doing a bunch of puck watching instead of somebody saying, hey, let's get out of here. And it's just been an ongoing issue with the Penguins. The offensive firepower is obviously there, but it just feels like they're not a gritty enough team. I mean, Letang is a terrific talent, and they do have some gritty players, some grittiness to them. It's just not enough. Not in my mind, not enough to ultimately win the cup.
Look, I got the solution for you, Iron.
Yeah,
because
I can hardly wait.
If I have learned anything from Pittsburgh sports today, it's that if you have a team of aging former champions plagued by uncharacteristic defensive lapses, instead of taking a look at the composition of your roster, we're certainly not revisiting what's being done at the top.
No.
You just fire a bunch of assistants who are in no way to blame for any of it and call it a day.
Yep. All good. Ta-da. Problem solved.
Now, look, I understand it's the NFL and heads have to roll when you have a disappointing season, like when you start 11-0 and you get housed at home by your divisional rival, who is like the worst team in organized sports.
And it wasn't just that they got, I mean, it was that they literally handed it to them. As I talked about on Tuesday, it is one thing if the other team is, I mean, still disappointed, obviously, and frustrated. But what's, to me, especially frustrating about the Steelers situation was it wasn't like Cleveland, whoa, they got pressure on Big Ben and they forced him into that mistake. It was just god-awful. I mean, from the initial snap on, most of the Steelers' problems were just self-inflicted and not again, it wasn't because of something Cleveland was doing. It was just god-awful execution of some basic game plan, including, again, snapping the football, and by veteran. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger and Marquise Pouncey and even Juju Smith-Schuster, the one ball going off of his hands and up into the air. I mean, those are the guys that you were counting on and expecting to come up big, and it just was horrendously disappointing.
Now, look, normally the identity and job status of of Pittsburgh's position coaches that's inside baseball to me as an Eagles fan, like whatever.
Yep.
Obviously, I got a little more piss and vinegar today because I feel like Scrap had to take the fall for something that was absolutely not his fault.
I would agree with you.
But, Tom Bradley, land on your feet. We love you here in Happy Valley, buddy. But my other question for you that I don't know. I've watched plenty of Steelers games. I don't know that I watch them closely enough or think about them from season to season to have a great opinion on this. I saw a lot of people celebrating online when Randy Fichtner got the axe.
Yeah.
And I remember the exact same reactions when Todd Haley got fired.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was probably some other offensive coordinator who was, made the sacrificial. I just see this over and over and over again. The offensive coordinator, people, piss and moan, up and down. He gets fired. Everybody acts like, well, this is it. Now we finally been, vindicated, and nothing changes. I'm just wondering if that's not the issue.
Well, and that is my concern is looking ahead to next season. And we'll see. Maybe they'll get the exact right answer, and everybody will be celebrating in Pittsburgh that they finally got it right. A couple of things. There's no question that offense never came together. I mean, I talked about it. I don't know how many weeks. It's like, man, the talent is there. They just hopefully will come together, and it never did.
To your credit, you were saying all throughout this season, yes, you are what your record says you are, but there were some close shaves.
Yeah,
when you dig down into them, 11-0 is maybe not quite what it appears to be.
Yeah, and again, the inability to run the ball, it still remains puzzling to me, just because, again, with that offensive line, and maybe it is that the offensive line just got too old that quickly. It feels like, and I'm not enough of an expert to tell you what it is. It just felt like something was not right, and maybe it was just the age, and those guys, a couple of them were a half step slower. Marquise Pouncey, maybe, again, still a terrific player, but maybe not quite what he was in terms of his physical presence on the line of scrimmage. But, it felt going into the year, right, with that offensive line and with James Conner and with Benny Snell, and everybody else. But, you really felt good about the running game. That the question I thought at the start of the season was how quickly the receiving core could kind of get together and make big plays. And the receiving core out of the gate made big plays, and then they went through the case of the drops, but came out of that reasonably well until the Cleveland game. But again, when you look at the talent, you look at what that offensive line had accomplished over the years. When you look at what Big Ben has accomplished over the years, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, and then you add in the dynamic elements with the young receivers. It felt like that was an offense that should be matching the Kansas Cities and the Green Bays and whoever the other top offenses that you think are out there, New Orleans when it's healthy, whatever, and it just never did come together, and obviously completely fell apart in the game against Cleveland. So to some degree, yes, you're going to end up holding the offensive coordinator responsible for that. But I keep coming back to two things: is that offensive line in spots just too far past its prime to be effective, and then Big Ben, obviously, with the way he played down the stretch. And really even all season. Again, the short passing game was terrific and got them out to the 11-0 start. And yes, they picked their moments, and he can still whale the ball downfield. But I do wonder how much of that offense was predicated on he cannot whale it downfield with the accuracy and the consistency that he once did. That it's, okay, let's save up and let him fire it downfield like that 4 or 5 times a game instead of the 15 to 20 times that he used to out of, what used to be 30 passes. Now we're doing it 4 or 5 times out of 50 passes, it seemed like, in a lot of the games. And so,
do you know at the end of his career is really who he really reminds me of as a player?
Brett
Favre.
Yeah.
And this is why, because when you go through the list of the greatest all-time quarterbacks, there are different things that you see in a guy like Brady or Montana, right? Or Marino versus Elway. And to me, one of the things that made Brett Favre in that conversation was that he was just such a great instinctive playmaker.
No doubt.
And you see great athletes who just have this, it's like a sixth sense for when there's an opportunity to make a play that is going to completely change the game, and then they just do what they have to do athletically to make it happen.
Yeah.
And Ben has always done that throughout his career, and I think he did it in the Cleveland game. I told you guys after you got off the air on Tuesday, I'm convinced, and I will go to my grave believing. It's one of the questions I can ask God if Mike Tomlin doesn't punt on 4th and 1 there. Do the Steelers win that game? I thought they had all the momentum, and part of that was Roethlisberger's ability, for as bad as he will look, as lost or broken down as he will look at times, he can summon that superpower to make an instinctive game-changing play when he absolutely needs to. The 4th down touchdown pass.
Yeah.
Perfect. That game's over if he doesn't make that play.
No question.
But he makes it.
Yep.
I mean, that's what won the Super Bowl against Arizona. Like that, just incredible ability. Hell, he even made a game-saving tackle against the Colts. What's the guy whose wife stabbed him?
Yep.
So, I mean, amazing. But then also the number of bad turnovers has, to me, just the last several years, when I've, again, haven't watched super closely, I don't have a tally in my head. It just seems like more and more over the last few years, as the franchise's fortunes have started to dip, I can remember Ben throwing bad picks at bad times. And you definitely saw that on display against the Browns.
Oh, it was, just
and that was Favre too.
Stuff.
Like, still had the old magic, but started turning it over more and more.
Yeah. And I mean, this offseason was going to be fascinating to watch to begin with, no matter what the Steelers did during this past season, because of the number of players whose contracts are up. But now when you throw into the mix, the coaching, the wholesale changes with the coaches, obviously, a lot of these guys are not going to be back in a Steelers uniform. And, how they're able to retool and remodel this team, and whether or not Ben Roethlisberger is the guy that runs it, because it feels like at most, right, you're going to get 2 more cracks with Big Ben, and that might be pushing it. We may not get any, and probably next year would be it if he's given that opportunity from the Steelers. And to me, everything else is going to have to be a really good fit. I think the receiving core, if they're able to keep Juju Smith-Schuster, even without Juju, truthfully, it's going to be a good unit. But, with him, if they can keep the receivers intact, that is I would put that receiving core as a whole up against any in the NFL right now.
Sure.
I really would. But, again, so many question marks right now, and a lot of soul searching, obviously, for Mike Tomlin and for the organization, because this is, I don't know that this necessarily had the Super Bowl or bust feel to me type of year for Pittsburgh, but certainly they had to have, to me, at least get to the second round, and really, it feels like it would not have been considered a successful season unless they at least got to the AFC Championship game. Again, when you look at the talent, when you look at the motivation coming off the last couple of seasons, everything together, and so to go out the way they did, faltering the entire way, except for the second half against the Colts, faltering the entire way down the stretch, and then it's a humiliating defeat if you're a Steelers fan or part of that Steelers organization. Cleveland is, it's a Penn State, and forgive me, Temple fans, but it's a Penn State Temple scenario, right? You feel like you did when Penn State lost to Temple. It's just not a game that you should ever be losing in the mind of a Steelers fan. And obviously you saw how meaningful it was for Cleveland. to get that playoff victory, and especially to do it in Pittsburgh. So I'm just wanting to sit back and watch, because nobody knows how all of this is going to play out right now in Pittsburgh. And that lineup, again, is going to look very different now.
Sure.
How different and at how many different spots are we going to see new faces? That's part of what we don't know, and what we're going to have to see how this all plays out between now and next season. But it feels like an opportunity really slipped past Pittsburgh this season.
I know we'll probably talk about the divisional round games a little bit more later, but
yeah.
do you think Casey's going to run them out of the building?
Yes, but again, I really thought Pittsburgh.
Same.
I said, that game worried me. I mean, it really did, because of how confident I was. I mean, I just looked at the matchups, and I watched what Cleveland did the week before, and again with the Steelers resting, and I thought. I really did think Big Ben would come out and look a lot sharper than what he did. But also the fact that Cleveland was not practicing, much at all during the week. And I'm like, man, this is just, everything was lined up for the Steelers. But again, the history of the Steelers in the playoffs, recent history anyway, recent being last 15 to 20 years, is
shockingly
if everything, if everything is lined up in their favor, right? When the Steelers have had success, they were the last seed when they beat the seed. I mean, that's when they've been successful, is when they're not the team to beat. When they've won the regular season conference championship, or at least the division, that's just when they've had problems. And that was the one thing that did worry me, was it's like, man, just everything feels like it's lining up for this team. And I've seen what happens when everything lines up for this organization time and time again in the playoffs. And sure enough, it did happen again.
Here's why I thought Cleveland was cooked, other than the fact that, kind of like Juju Smith-Schuster, I thought the Browns are the Browns.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I believed in life, Ironhead, like that was like an existential moment for me when the Browns won that game, because if there's one thing I believe, I guess despite all the evidence to the contrary I've seen in the previous years with like the Eagles and the Cubs and the Cavaliers and you name the Chiefs, is that the football gods are cruel, callous, sadistic a-holes who rob from the poor to give to the rich.
Yes.
And if there's a fan base anywhere in sports, unless there's something about the people of Cleveland that I don't know, who have just been undeservedly dumped upon, despite their unfailing loyalty to its sports teams, it is Cleveland Browns fans. And I thought there can be no crueler thing in this cold, empty vacuum of space that is our uncaring, unfeeling universe ruled by the football gods, that for Cleveland to fight and scrap and claw their way into a playoff spot, have everyone who follows that team damn near die of a heart attack because it looked like that guy fumbled the onside kick when they almost lose to Mason Rudolph, only to have them unceremoniously kicked out of the building the following week when they go and play Pittsburgh, and just get reminded that, like, you'll never have anything and you'll never be happy. So, give up on life. I thought for sure this is what the football gods do. And now I don't know what to say, Ironhead.
Yeah.
My entire theory of sports has been shattered. Thanks to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Here is the thing,
nice
though.
job.
I do not see Kansas City, because I still think Pittsburgh, I mean, and I realize the absurdity of, you take those 5 turnovers away. Steelers probably win that game. Well,
they still almost won. Just punt.
Here's the thing.
Punt.
Kansas City.
Go on 4th and 1.
I feel extremely confident that Kansas City will not be a -5 in the turnover battle this weekend. I mean, even more so. And truthfully, as much as I did think Pittsburgh would beat Cleveland, I really had my doubts as to the Steelers matching up with the Bills, and had zero confidence. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't think they had a chance.
Going to win that game for the same reason I thought that they were going to beat the Browns.
But I was not at all confident about the Steelers getting to the Super Bowl. I mean, I really thought both Buffalo and Kansas City are just better teams. Yeah. I think the separation between Kansas City and Cleveland right now is a huge gulf. And that's not to, I think Cleveland is coming. I mean, I do think that organization is built for a long term in the NFL being the next 3 or 4 years. I mean, I think the Browns will be in the mix. And getting to the playoffs more often than not over the next, let's say 4 years. But Kansas City right now, again, Buffalo is still the team I think is going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, but, certainly not going to be shocked if Kansas City gets there. I think those two teams, and, if you're a smart betting man, you're heading over to your bookie and putting everything down on the Ravens and the Browns right now because my track record is not very good.
KC
but man, am I confident about Kansas City.
Better. They're such a better team.
Cleveland out. And part of it is, too, I mean, I just think there's a talent gulf right now between those two. And I also think Kansas City's experience and just everything that they have going for it right now. But also, I do think there is going to be a bit of a hangover here for Cleveland.
So
possibly a literal hangover for some of those guys after the win over Pittsburgh. That was such an emotional, right? And to jump out the way they did and to be able to celebrate, I'm having a hard time imagining Cleveland pulling out the win or even having a real opportunity here to knock off Kansas City in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so let me tell you a story Jay Paterno told me about the 2004 Nittany Lions. So you remember that team was terrible, was having an absolutely awful year. They were 2-7.
Yep.
And then they have that 4-play goal line stand at Indiana.
Yep.
And there's one game left in the season. And a lot of people look back to those 2 wins to end the year as kind of the springboard to the Big Ten title season in 2005. So Jay told me that they were flying home from Bloomington when they got the news that Michigan State had upset Wisconsin. And all of a sudden, all the coaches got big smiles. There was laughter. Everybody knew that they had them because Michigan State was notorious for partying to absolute levels of self-destruction after a big win.
Yep.
So they're like, we got them. They are going to be out and they're going to just absolutely destroy their bodies for the next 5 days. And you remember we killed them in that game.
And the truth is, while Browns fans would love to see their team, obviously love more than anything to see them in the Super Bowl.
They already won the Super Bowl.
They are happy. I mean, they are telling the players, job well done. Mm-hmm. This season was hugely successful. We are so happy
fools.
with you.
They know they're going to have to survive off these fumes for the next 3 decades.
Yeah.
So by all means, enjoy it, which just means they are going to get run. They're going to get run.
That's
Kansas
my
City.
Expectation. Yeah. I do think the Ravens-Bills game is more intriguing going into it because man, the Ravens have put something together here, right? Down the stretch, and you saw it carry over last week. And obviously, Lamar Jackson is, he feels like he has something to prove here in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I do think Baltimore is one of the few teams that physically can match up. I mean, they are a physical football team, and I think they will go toe-to-toe with the Bills. I still think, at the end of the day, the Bills are just having a really special season. I think this is a really special team. And I still think the Bills will find a way to win it. But I do think that's going to be a very entertaining game. And I think there's a lot more questions about, hey, how is everybody going to respond on both teams? How is this thing going to play out? That one to me seems like a pretty intriguing matchup.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect at all to the Steelers, but I got the sense that there were a lot of Buffalo fans who were rooting for Pittsburgh against Cleveland just because Baltimore has gotten so
I don't
hot.
think there's any doubt. The way the way the Ravens played down the stretch and the way the Steelers played down the stretch, I mean, you'd be a fool to not rather face Pittsburgh than Baltimore right now. With again, not about the personnel, about the way the teams are playing.
The Steelers a few weeks prior
in every which way. The Steelers just physically could not match up with Buffalo in the first meeting, and not a lot of reason to believe they would have fared any better in a second matchup. Take a break here. When we come back, we'll continue talking some sports. We'll take a look at the NFC a little bit, also talk some Penn State basketball and hockey as we continue with the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show with Chris Buchanani filling in for the Goon today.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
Who wants to turn $20 into $500? Support our local restaurants this holiday season. Eat in or dine out, from French fries to lobster. Bring us your receipt and we'll take $500 off your final price. Here's how simple this is. Bring us a receipt, buy a car from us in the month of December, and we'll take $500 off your final price. Merry Christmas from Blaise Alexander Hyundai Mazda. Support your local restaurants and servers. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.
And we welcome you back into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube, and the lube is open and available for your business, both dine in and, of course, still having the takeout available as well, as we have been since the beginning of the pandemic. We continue to urge you to support your local businesses, and that certainly includes the good folks at Lion Country Kia, as well as at Blaise Alexander, and of course here with Quaker Steak and Lube.
Gift cards make great,
wonderful
gifts for employees, for your kids' teachers who absolutely have earned them this year.
Even for yourself, I've got to tell you that there is something about, even though you know that you put the money out, but even more so if you get a gift, there is something that just feels extremely satisfied about going to picking up a food and here's a card.
Well, so it's like
I can't even explain it, but it's just
what the kids
satisfying
these days. Ironhead, a life hack, right? So you plunk the money down and you get the card. It's got the Quaker Steak and Lube, the Quaker Steak and Lube logo on it, and so that gets your mind thinking when you're having one of those nights where you can't decide what to do for dinner. You just don't have an empty space. You got the gift card right there. Oh, I got this gift card to Quaker Steak. You want to do Quaker Steak? Boom, you're done. You're good.
Wonderful stuff.
Yep.
Real quick, NFC playoffs, the Rams and the Packers. Rams look terrific. Seattle did not look terrific. That was part of it. But, boy, the Rams did look good. Green Bay is the number one seed for a reason. It feels like the Packers ought to be able to take care of business here. But I will say I think this is a dangerous game for the Packers to me going in. The one thing, did you see the Packers signed, and I'm going to forget the name now, the offensive lineman from the Colts, though, because I did not. He was not. It's the most bizarre thing. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but he started for the Colts in the playoff game and then was not put on the 53-man roster. And so he was available and Green Bay picked him up, and it's just the strangest thing. So them. I think this guy, I should have clipped out the story because I read it yesterday, but I think he's the first player, he's either the first or second player to ever assuming everything plays out here, he'll be the first one to play for two different teams in the same playoff season in the NFL, I believe. Don't hold me to that. I've read a lot of stuff, sports and otherwise, over the last couple of days, and that's
like a
all
double
kind of
Jeopardy
blurring
question
together.
right there.
But it's not. And if you get a Super Bowl, I mean, would it not feel weird if you played for one team and I'm assuming, I don't know enough about the guy to be honest. I'm assuming he was with the Colts all season. That might not even be the case. But if that is the case, can you? I mean, it would have to be a little weird, wouldn't it? To be, I mean, you'd take it. I mean, you take a Super Bowl ring anyway, you can get it. But to have played with the team all season long, lose in the playoffs, and then turn around and get a Super Bowl ring that season.
Here's the real question.
It's a pretty weird.
Will they sign him back in the offseason?
That is a good. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see if I can. I'll get a little more details. I'm guessing it'll be one of the stories that they'll talk about a good bit on the telecast on Saturday. And then the final game of the weekend. I don't know if anybody else has realized this, but I got to thinking, when Tampa Bay and New Orleans play, Chris, you're actually have two of the real well-known veteran quarterbacks. I don't know if anybody's picked up on this, but it's actually me, Drew Brees versus Tom Brady.
That is an interesting angle.
I picked up on that when I was looking at the matchups. I don't think anybody else has really touched on that much. I was thinking about just a story idea really for the folks at ESPN if they want to dial up something, but that might be an interesting storyline with two veteran record-setting quarterbacks like that.
40 now that
I think they are. Yeah.
So they're kind of old.
And both their last names begin with B, so you got that going for you too. And I do think it's going to be a fun. There you go. I do think it's going to be a fun matchup. I mean, I am excited to watch it, and I will say I do love watching Chris Godwin and the success he's having at this level.
So well.
His hands are just, I mean, and we saw it at Penn State. I mean, it's not a terrible surprise, but it doesn't always translate from the collegiate to the professional level. And but man, if anything, he has exceeded expectations going to the NFL because. I don't know exactly where he ranks, top, but man, he's up there. And the guy is just consistent gold. I mean, he is a big time receiver, and obviously, that's a good receiving core across the board that Tampa's put together. But I am excited as somebody who has absolutely no rooting interest. I could care less about either of these teams. I kind of pulled for the Saints when they won their first Super Bowl coming off of the hurricane. But my passion for them for that is long past, and I just don't have anything against or any passion for either team. I just want to sit back and watch that one play out. I think it's just going to be a fun game.
I'm glad we're getting to have, it's which we joke about the storyline being beaten to death, which it definitely has been. I am glad we are getting to have this Brady versus Brees postseason matchup, because the last few years we have felt like there was a potential to see them play each other in the Super Bowl. And because they have just had, maybe with or however you want to classify Peyton Manning, they've had the two best quarterback careers during their tenure, along with Aaron Rodgers. It's like those four, and then plus Ben Roethlisberger, right? Like those are kind of the five guys I think of when I think about this era. And then I think about Eli Manning playing very underwhelming football, except for two postseasons. Yeah,
although truthfully, I mean, as good as Ben is, I think most, and I'm a big Ben fan, but I mean, there's a separation there between those top four and Ben. I think Ben would probably lead that next group, but and Ben's a different type of quarterback from those guys. But I do think when you're talking Manning, Brees, Brady, and Rodgers, that's kind of the elite of the elite.
Very possible we're going to see them match up.
Yeah, you could see the winner
consecutive weeks.
Yeah.
So the Rams game, I agree. Unless the Rams play a nearly flawless defensive game and get it late into the third, into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I think Green Bay is going to win.
Yeah.
And they're having problems at quarterback. Wolford, the guy who started against Seattle, he's not going to play.
Yeah.
So now they've got a choice between Jared Goff with an injured hand or Blake Bortles.
Yep.
So neither one of those guys is scaring me versus Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field.
No, admittedly, that could be a bit of a problem.
But just quickly to the point about Brady and Breeze, I was Brady and Breeze. I was talking to a friend of mine about how we think about the all-time greats of quarterbacking and how someone really needs to go dig into the analytics and do an analysis of how somebody like Joe Montana or John Elway, relative to league averages for the course of their careers, compares to a guy like Brady or Breeze. Because if you just look at raw numbers, it's just, the same story with football. Comparing years is so difficult when you're looking at statistics because the way offenses are run is just so much different.
The one thing that's difficult, well, not difficult, it's impossible to accurately and fairly evaluate. But, so like Terry Bradshaw, wherever you rank him, however high or low you have him. I mean, Lynn Swann and John Stallworth were unquestionably great receivers. Again, I don't know where you rank them in the all-time, but they were fantastic. When you look at what Big Ben has had throughout his career, I mean, the receiving core has been ridiculously good. To me, Joe Montana obviously had pretty good wide receiver.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, it was a great core. That was a great, from tight end to the Taylor. I mean, the whole bit. That was great offense, not just the receivers, but also the running game. To me, why I have a tough time, and it may be begrudgingly that I give the all-time great status to Brady, but I mean, Randy Moss for a season, I get it. He's had some good receivers, but when you compare his receiving core to what what most of us would consider the top tier legendary quarterbacks, I just don't think he's had anything close. And even from a running game, right? I mean, a lot of those quarterbacks also had great running games as well. And I just don't think, to me, what Brady has been able to do throughout his career with largely a group, I mean, Gronkowski obviously was special, but what he did with largely, no-name individuals in terms of, the impact on the history of the game compared to a lot of the other quarterbacks that we're talking about. To me, that separates him a little more as well. And again, I don't know how I don't think you can. I mean, how do you compare? Okay, well, we give this many points to this quarterback because he had receivers that weren't great. And we're going to take away from this quarterback because it's part of it is the relationship they have, right? I mean, part of what made Jerry Rice great was that he had Joe Montana. He was going to be great no matter what, but was he going to be as great if Mason Rudolph was throwing passes to him? Probably not. Probably not from a numbers standpoint. Anyway, so, trying to delve through and figure out exactly how you're going to assign greatness. But what Brady has done throughout his career, to me, it's heads and shoulders above anybody else. And again, that's just my take on it. And I still think, Dan Marino, for me, and I have a tough time. When you talk about comparing eras, I love going back and reading about old-time football and reading about Sammy Baugh. I mean, how am I going to fairly and accurately? I mean, I can read about Sammy Baugh or Y.A. Tittle, but I'm going to sit here and assess their game with the way the game has evolved. I mean, that's just not fair, and I don't think it can be done. But of the quarterbacks I've seen and that I've followed closely, and I've followed the NFL closely and reasonably with a reasonable wealth of knowledge from like the probably mid to late 70s on, to me, Marino still, I mean, I would put him in my top three quarterbacks that I've ever seen as well, even though he doesn't have the Super Bowl. I'm just telling you that guy knew how to throw the football and was a big time, the thing that separates him in the minds of a lot of people from like Elway is Elway gets the nod because of the Super Bowl wins. But again, you talk about football being the ultimate team sport. Well, if that's true, then you can't put it all on the quarterback. And I do think we unfairly do that because, again, I would take Dan Marino. If you're talking, all right, who are you going to take to start your organization? Again, Tom Brady's, for me, would be the all-time. Probably Montana would be my 2. And then I really do think I'd put Marino in there at number 3 just on what he brought to the table and his skill set at that position.
Well, to my point about comparing stats from different eras, Marino's best seasons would hold up alongside the best seasons of the quarterbacks from this era, where the game is way more wide open. There's a lot more passing. And back then there weren't 75 pass interference flags thrown every game. So the fact that he was putting up numbers like he was consistently in an era where the game was much more played between the tackles than it is now, that to me speaks to transcendent greatness. So again, as much as it pains me, and I imagine it maybe pains you to heap such praise on a Pitt Panther. I Marino routinely does not get the credit he deserves.
And again, he had great receivers too. I mean, Duper and Clayton. I mean, they had some big time receivers as well. Again, how much do you?
OJ McDuffie
was that a result?
The end of his career?
For sure. I don't know. Real quick before we wrap things up here, do you have any idea of what to expect from Penn State basketball? Nittany Lions looks like are going to play Purdue. I have zero idea of what this is going to look like and what to expect. It's been it's been a full over 2 weeks.
Over 2 weeks.
Since we've seen them in action, and I don't know how much they've been able to get on the court together and what this is going to look like. I feel for those kids with everything they've been through from the start of the, last March, not getting to go to the NCAA tournament when they clearly had earned it, and then losing your head coach and having that surprise dumped on you as late as it was before the start of the season, and now having to deal with what they have. I mean, it feels like at some point everybody has their breaking point. And I know college kids are resilient, and I know this team has a lot of resolve and all of that. I just I hope for the very best for them. I really do. I think those kids deserve anything good that comes their way, not just in this basketball season, but throughout their lives. I really do. But I have zero idea what I'm expecting on. I'm hoping they just get out and get the opportunity to play, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not expecting anything good once they get back on the court. I mean, it's hard to believe that you would see anything other than, let's say substandard results. Because this was always, in the best case scenario, this was always going to be a team I thought that was going to have to take the first leg of the season to get it figured out.
Yes.
They're playing without a big man. They're integrating Sam Sessoms as a primary scoring option. Then now you heap on top of that the need to adjust to a new head coach at the last minute.
Yeah.
And now that opportunity to just get out on the court and consistently play together and figure out what the identity of the team is, that's been taken away.
Yeah.
And it stinks too, because I really like Jim Ferry, what I have seen from him so far. And I feel like the guy at least deserved a shot to make his best case for being considered for the job long term, and this makes it, in my mind, if not impossible, close to it.
Yeah, it's certainly very, very difficult. So we'll see. In Penn State hockey, Chris, again, to me, this is a season that you kind of knew all along was going to be a bit of a rebuilding. I am just curious to just kind of see how it keeps developing here. That they've been competitive. Really since the end of the last semester, and certainly in everything so far. It's just again, I think this is going to be the building blocks, and regardless of how this thing plays out record-wise, I do think you're seeing why there is a lot of optimism about the future of this program and what the next couple of seasons are going to bring. I think, the hope for me, at least for this year, is that you just continue to see them play hard and that you get to see, again, not necessarily, I mean, you'd love to see it result in wins as well, but less concerned about what the results are in terms of wins and losses, and just more so about the continued development and kind of buying into what the program is trying to build here for the future. And obviously, remain absolutely convinced that they have the right guy as the head coach to lead this thing into the future. I really do love what we're seeing out of this team and this program.
Yeah, I'm not worried about underachieving in the wins column this year at all. Look, all these seasons have an element of fakeness to them to begin with. And I'm with you, Ironhead. Just get your reps for your young guys. Continue to show off the style of hockey we play at Penn State. And I think the track record, 2 Big Ten championships, excellent facilities, chance to come play in a great place, big-time school. I think that's going to continue to sell recruits. You're going to get great coaching. Now starting to see some former players from the program go on and play at the professional level.
Yep.
Yeah, this season's going to be a little bit of a speed bump, but that's it.
Yeah. And real quick, Urban Meyer, it sounds like a deal is imminent now with the Jaguars. I think you and I are on the same page here. I do not see Urban being a successful NFL coach. I don't know that I see anybody being especially successful for a while at Jacksonville right now, but I'm just and listen, I've been wrong so many times as we've talked about. So maybe go bet on the Jaguars to win the Super Bowl next year. But boy, I do not see this as
I do not advise that.
I do not see this as a good fit. I just don't think Urban Meyer in the NFL is a good fit.
No, me neither.
But with the layoff he's had and the issues, the health issues and everything else he's had, like this just even seems strange. I'm not sure what Jacksonville is thinking it's getting, or why Jacksonville is going this route. It just this one's perplexing to me.
Sell tickets, maybe,
but I don't even know. Does Urban? I mean, if you're in Jacksonville, if you're the Cleveland Browns or the Cincinnati Bengals, maybe, or if Utah had a professional team, but I mean, is Urban? I get he's a national name. I understand that, but if you're in Florida, I mean, is Urban really the guy that's going to get you jazzed up about, all right, now we're going to turn this Jacksonville organization around?
Yeah, proximity to Gainesville, and when you compare him to Doug Marrone, right, or
I just feel like there's other bigger names even in Florida that would get you excited with the success. I don't know.
I do know. I mean, look, it was an odd decision for the NFL to put a franchise in Jacksonville.
Well, that's true. And I
do know that Shad Khan, the owner, I think he chafes at the feeling that his team is an afterthought compared to a lot of his peers, and maybe this is just his way of making a splash. All I can say is, Urban, you need an offensive coordinator you can trust, an innovative mind who has proven he can win, and with whom you have a previous working relationship. I think Ryan Day is the offensive coordinator you need in Jacksonville. Please, Urban, hire him. Someone hire him. I don't care. At this point, the Eagles can go get him. That was a rumor. Whatever. Let's get him out of Columbus.
Work.
Something has got to destabilize that program to get them off the run they're on. So, Urban, do it.
Yeah,
Ryan Day.
We got to get Ryan out of there, and we got to make sure Harbaugh stays in Michigan,
yes,
and we'll be happy campers here in Happy Valley. Folks, have a great weekend. Stay safe. The Goon, we believe, will be back on Tuesday. We will talk to you then. Until then, we'll see you.
Go Flyers.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorentos available on our lot, starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Introducing the new dusted Ghost Pepper at Quaker Steak and Lube. 11,700 SHUs of fire dusted on award-winning wings. Try it, or are you afraid of the heat?
Who wants to turn $20 into $500? Support our local restaurants this holiday season. Eat in or dine out, from French fries to lobster. Bring us your receipt and we'll take $500 off your final price. Here's how simple this is. Bring us a receipt, buy a car from us in the month of December, and we'll take $500 off your final price. Merry Christmas from Blaise Alexander Hyundai Mazda. Support your local restaurants and servers. And remember, tell them Johnny sent you.